Good afternoon, everybody. It is the 8th of October, and we'll start today with a bit of Bitcoin just because, we usually get to it in the latter part. So today, we'll start with it. So, this is Bitcoin on the 2 hour time frame. This is the anchor from the recent high, anchor from the recent low, and we're kind of consolidating and pitching in between this area. Now, I got long yesterday at around, I can't remember what I said, 62 and a half. And I actually got out once it dropped below this low here, and it's not necessarily because I was worried about losing money. It's just I think maybe if it pulls back, consolidates, I can get in at a slightly later stage. We are up against this rising 5 session moving average or 5 24 hour period moving average, and we're kind of just breaking below it right now. So I think it's a little bit of caution just to remain. The 5 day moving average will continue to rise for the next little bit, at least until midday tomorrow, unless we break down further. But it's just, maybe we're going to see a little bit more of a consolidation here in Bitcoin. Maybe we actually undercut this low build, right, until we can do something like that up into the end of the year. So that's kind of my thought on Bitcoin. But let's have a look at the markets. It was a good day, all in all. The SPY, the S&P 500. I had a strong reversal this morning above the 5 day moving average, which is always good to see. So this morning it gapped up, and the best thing you could have done, if we have a look at this quickly in the shorter term time frame, is do what I did, is not buy the gap and chase it, but it's buy the gap or wait for the volume weighted average price. And you see that little square on my screen, that's where I bought in, and I took off a third up here at 572, and I ended up getting stopped out somewhere around 571, and I could have got back in on strength above the volume weighted average price for the day, and you could have made yourself an easy kind of $2.50. But I wasn't paying attention. I was doing something else. I was trading some other things, and I didn't get back involved. But that would have been the play if you were getting into the SPY today. Just be cognizant of the fact that we're coming up to the all-time highs again. We're only about, hardly anything off the all-time high. What is it, like 474 to, yeah, really like ridiculous 0.25 basis points or something. I'm not entirely sure the math, but anyhow, we're above a rising 5 day moving average. That's probably the key thing here. We've had a nice rally today. Maybe expect a bit of a pullback to that volume weighted average price tomorrow morning, and if the market's still strong, away we go. It's as simple as that. We're above the anchor from the all-time high, so the buyers are in control, and it looks like we're going to be carrying on upwards. The Qs on the Nasdaq look like they're going to potentially get up to this breakout level here at 593. That'd be a nice thing to see. If you're involved, it'd be a good time to take some profits. Generally, we're back above a rising 5 day moving average again, and we're above a 20 and 50. So it's surprising what a day can do. That being said, we are still in a bit, we seem to be kind of flip flopping back and forwards between good days and bad days here. Days of distribution are never something to take lightly. Just keep that in the back of your mind in case we start to see any profit taken. But we're currently above the rising 5 day movement average, so essentially we are guilty until the market turns. Semiconductors again had a great day. It was led by Nvidia, which I'm still involved in. It's now got a rising 50 and 20 day and 200 day moving average. It's above all the volume weighted average prices that are appropriate. We're holding above the anchor from this high beautifully here. Let's see if we're holding above the anchor from the all-time high here in the semis. 1 second. Yeah, plenty higher above it, perfectly where that last pullback came to. So level of interest is your level of interest if it starts to sell off is around this 247 area. That seems to be where we've had some resistance or find some support. So just keep an eye on that. That's where we found some sellers here and we found some buyers here. So just keep an eye on that if we start to see profit taking, but I cannot see why we can't break up around to this 255 mark and carrying it on upwards, obviously dependent on what the semiconductors are doing. Biotechs are looking a little bit more stabilized in here now. What I would like to see is a higher high above this flat to rising 5 day moving average. Problem is we now have decline in 50 and 20 day moving average. So, we may get a bit of a rally up and maybe we pull back and consolidate, let this 50 day moving average catch up here and start to rise. We need to get rid of these next 2 days worth of data. So anticipating that we may end up getting a 50 day moving average, I wouldn't be too far off the idea of potentially having a nibble above if we get above 97.77 tomorrow. Stop would be down at probably at worst case 95.89. You know, if it gets going, you could probably move your stop up to the low of the day to day of around 96.88. So biotechs, I think, you know, potentially setting up for a move now. They're kind of lagging behind the rest of the market here, or leading. Who knows, right? I mean, they started to sell off a long time ago, tried to break out and failed. This is this pullback. We've broken this trend line. You know, maybe this comes down to be a triple top, but we haven't come back down to $90 yet, so we can't necessarily do that. However, if this is a double top, which is supposed to technically, right, if this is a double top on XBI and we ignore the left shoulder, because this could also be a shoulder, head to shoulder, and we see further breakdown. If this is a double top, which it did make a slightly higher high, and it starts to break down, then we need to take into consideration if this is the measured move from here to here, which is about 7.8%, and we do get a pullback down to 95, then we got to do a 7.8% from here to here. So maybe we're in for a bigger pullback in XBI, right? That would bring us down to this 87-ish level on the daily time frame. But again, I'm just potentially, you know, being that this is a shoulder, head, and a shoulder, as well as a potential double top on if we just take into consideration this data, maybe we are seeing a potential further breakdown. But on the shorter term time frame, we are looking at a potential flat to rising 5-day moving average. So keep that in mind. I'm definitely not bearish, but I am. But you know, I am cautious of the fact that this is happening on the daily time frame, and who knows? Maybe we get a higher high above a flat to rising 5-day moving tomorrow, and we're off to the races. We just have to see. Russell 2000, again, kind of still in this channel, downwards channel here. Maybe you could call it a bull flag, but to me, it's still just got a pattern of lower highs and lower lows. You've got a decline in 50, 20-day moving average will start to decline in the next few days. But the 5-day moving average is starting to rise here on the short-term time frame. So again, I'm not bearish overall, but I'm just cautious as the fact that what's going on the longer-term time frame, and this is probably something to take into consideration. If we put an anchor off this high here, which is a recent high, we are below that. So you know, if you expect to get involved above maybe tomorrow we get involved above 218, right? Maybe we'll expect to potentially find some supply up at 219. You know, this is where we've been rejected before on this sale right here. So keep that in mind if you get involved in the Russell 2000. Energy names can gap down today, gap down, pull back to the volume weighted average price of the what I'm assuming is the all-time high here. And that's where it kind of found some supply, and then we traded below the volume weighted average price for the day. We're now below the month-to-day anchor, the 5-day moving average. Unless we get a decent rally here, we'll start to decline over the next day and a half. So energy names definitely not looking as bullish as they once were, but if this is just an orderly pullback, find some buyers here. Maybe this is a great place to get involved if you're a fan of trading energy names, and onwards and upwards. Financials, traded above the volume average weighted price per day. We have a rise in 5-day, and but we still haven't broken up to these all-time highs here. Kind of a bit of pullback. I see a higher high, but then I now see this higher low, and you know, we're just going to carry on downwards. If we see some further profit taken, and expect to find some supply down here at the probably, my guess is around this 45 mark is where we're hovering. This is the level of interest, and then obviously next level of interest is 44.65. That's where we found supply on 2 other occasions. I'm going to run through the Mag 7 stocks today because half of them are looking pretty juicy. Let's have a look at Apple. Apple's 5-day moving average is going to start rising tomorrow as we get rid of, well, as if we stay in this area. Right now it's kind of flat. You know, if you decide to get involved, know where your stop is. Your unfortunate worst case stop would probably be at 224. That would probably be quite tight, maybe below the low of the day at 223. 2 down here is probably too far down. You end up selling off too much. You don't want to do that. Meta, you know, it's in a pretty solid uptrend. It's not one I would personally want to get involved in right now after it's already run significantly. But if you are looking to get involved, maybe just to pull back, buy a bottle of volume weighted average price for the day. Microsoft continues to be miserable. It's below a 50 and soon to be declining 20-day moving average, as well as a 200-day moving average is starting to, well, it won't flatten for a while until it gets around or we see a significant sell-off. But, you know, we seem to have a bit of a trend here coming down to this area. We seem to find some supply in here today. It's kind of a rough trend line. We found some buyers spot on that trend line, but we're below a declining 5-day moving average, so I wouldn't be a buyer in Microsoft. Google pulled back today. Maybe it's an opportunity to get involved. We're above a we're above a rising 20-day moving average. 50-day moving average is going to start rising here in the next few days. And then on the short, but unfortunately on the shorter term time frame, we're below that 5-day moving average. So I wouldn't want to necessarily get involved in Google. We got to wait for this to kind of maybe pull round, and then we see, some price action come up kind of like this, and then we get going again roughly. Nvidia, if you're involved here, I've currently got my stops at where have I got my stops? I got my stops at the low of the day. Yeah, I do. I stop at the lower day at 129.37 for the rest of my position. I actually sold half my position in here today on what I thought was going to be a bit of a breakout. So above this level here of 130.121, I went to go sell some, and yeah, well, it ran another $2, so I lost out on a potential bit of profit, but I'm still holding a third of my position, and I probably will hold that as long as it allows me to now, to be quite honest with you. Amazon had a strong day. I would say keep an eye on Amazon. If we get a bit of a rally up over 183, this 5-day moving average will start to flatten. We're above a rising 50 and 20. Well, we're below the rising 20, but we're still in that area. We've had a nice run. This is maybe just be an orderly pullback, and maybe off we go. Tesla's looking probably a little bit better. Tomorrow we get into this data here, which to me looks like if we can get above 246-ish, 245-ish, then I would say, it's good to get involved with a stop at 240. Tesla can move quite fast, so if you're gonna, it could easily run to 270 in a space of no time at all. So if you're looking to get involved in one of the Mag 7 stocks, I'd say Tesla's probably your lowest risk entry. This 5-day moving average will start to flatten tomorrow, and unless we start to sell off, then it will continue to decline. My concern is we have been rejected at this volume at this basically 2 times now on the 5-day moving average. So I was potentially going to buy a little bit here at the end of the day, and then I kind of spooked myself. I got a little day trade in on it. I sold some, and then I ended up just selling the rest of it on profit still. But I think if you can get above tomorrow, if it gaps up, say if tomorrow we gap up into this area, don't chase it. Wait for it to pull back, like I said in the SPY, and buy above the volume and average price for the day. I'd say your worst case stop probably probably somewhere around here. If we gap up there tomorrow, that's 247. Give ourselves, a couple points spread. 243.94 would probably be your best bet if we gap up into this area. Chances are, though, we may end up seeing quite a large gap if it does get a rally tomorrow. So don't chase the gap. Wait for the volume weighted average price of the day. Outside of that, hope you all had a great trading day, and I will speak to you tomorrow.